Security is crucial in NetSuite. The primary security measure NetSuite recommends is using two-factor authentication, or 2FA. For an added layer of security, however, account administrators may wish to enable IP address rules in NetSuite. Let's take a quick look at setting this feature up and using it in NetSuite. You can enable this feature under the Access section of the Company tab in Enable Features. After enabling this feature, you'll need to specify your address rules. In other words, which IP addresses are allowed. You can set these rules both on the company level as well as on the individual employee level. You can set company-wide IP address rules by navigating to the Company Information page, Setup Company Information. On this page, you'll see the field Allowed IP Addresses. Here, you can list all the IP addresses that you want to grant access to your NetSuite account, separated by commas or spaces. You can include up to 4,000 characters in this text box. Once you have saved your changes to the Company Information page, any users wishing to access your account will need to log in on a computer that is covered by the IP addresses you have delineated. Employees will, by default, inherit the IP address rules of the company. However, you may find yourself in the situation of needing to either limit a user's access or expand it. You can do this on the Access tab of the employee record. Under the Access tab, you'll see the checkbox Inherit IP Rules from Company and the text box IP Address Restriction. If you want to limit a user's access, simply deselect the checkbox Inherit IP Rules from Company and include the specific IP addresses that this employee can use to access NetSuite in the IP Address Restriction text box. Alternatively, if you want to give an employee access to NetSuite using IP addresses in addition to the addresses listed on the Company Information page, then you would leave Inherit IP Rules from Company checked and include the additional IP addresses in the text box. That's the basic idea of setting IP address rules. But before we go, let's look at some quick tips for using IP address rules effectively. First, it's important to note that you will need to use an IPv4 address because NetSuite does not allow IPv6 addresses. Also, when you list IP addresses in NetSuite, you'll need to separate them with either spaces or commas. Let's take a look at some more tips for entering IP address rules. First, you can use a hyphen to indicate all the IP addresses within a range. For example, you might enter a range like 192.0.2.1 through 192.0.2.9. Alternatively, you could further shorten the addresses by inserting the hyphen directly between the differentiating numbers. To return to our previous example, your range would now be entered as 192.0.2.1 through 9. If you are using a subnet mask to define your IP addresses, you can use either a standard shorthand such as 192.0.2.0/24 or the equivalent full subnet mask after the IP address such as 192.0.2.0/255.255.255.0. To include all IP addresses, write all in the text box. To exclude all IP addresses, write none in the text box. Suppose there are specific roles that you want to have unrestricted access to NetSuite. To set that up, you would need to navigate to the Manage Roles page, set up Users Roles, Manage Roles, and select Customize next to the role that you want to have unrestricted access. On the role record, you will need to make sure the checkbox Restrict this role by IP address is not checked. Then, save the record. An employee who is assigned to this role will be able to access NetSuite through this role, regardless of the company's or even that specific employee's typical IP address restrictions. IP address rules in NetSuite can help to provide additional security for your account. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, let us know by hitting the like button. And to learn more about how SuiteRep can help you with all of your NetSuite needs, visit us at SuiteRep.com.